Welcome to our weekly livestock update. I'm Brownfield news anchor reporter Meghan Grebner. With us is University of Missouri livestock specialist Scott Brown. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Megan.
Scott, we've been talking a lot about markets the last couple of weeks. Let's talk about what's going on this week and some of the things that we've seen and movement we've seen in the livestock markets this week.
Yeah, so I think when we look at both hog and cattle cash prices this week, maybe a little bit of weakness, but frankly relatively steady. We've been off on the future side, more so on hogs than on cattle as we look through the week. I guess for me the big mover is that we continue to see corn prices move higher. We frankly almost recovered or more than recovered all of the decline that we saw once we got planting intentions a couple of weeks ago. So feed costs on the rise. Livestock prices have been pretty flat this week.
When we look at the numbers and anything specifically that maybe came out that you're gearing to or you're picking up on, positive, negatives, anything big when it comes to those numbers?
Yeah, there's not much. I guess, when you look at the wholesale side of things, although maybe we've been a little weaker on cash prices, box beef prices, choice box beef prices up $4 for the week. Seeing a lot of strength in chuck and round and loin this week. So, I would say a little bit of more of the same, where some of the higher valued products have certainly been helpful. We have seen some increases in terms of lean beef prices as well. Even the pork cutout value up just slightly, a little less than 50 cents for the week. I guess there we have a mixed bag when we start looking at the cuts there. I would say a month or so ago we were really getting excited about what was happening on the belly side of the pork cutout value. We were seeing a very good increase through about mid-March. I think many of us thought that might help us sustain higher prices as we went through the summer months, but unfortunately since about mid-March we've not seen much more strength, and in fact a little weakness depending on where we are in belly prices. So the cuts of pork have certainly been a little different. If you look at picnics, we're up $2.20 this week, where belly's down $1.30. So those are a little bit of what we see from the wholesale side, and I will continue to say maybe not all bad information, given that we continue to push more supplies out in terms of beef and pork and chicken on the marketplace. We're up. When you look at beef production, 2.4% to date this year. So growing supplies, keeping prices more in check than we've seen for a while.
What about the retail side of things, especially when we look at beef prices in particular, and even on the hog side of things?
So maybe a little surprising, Economic Research Service gave us some data on March retail prices, in particular on beef. It stands out. What is estimated as the choice beef price for March of 2016 at $6.22 a pound. That was up from $5.99 a pound the previous month. So we are seeing strength in that retail beef prices. ERS gives us a little bit of hint that higher steak prices and higher 50% lean beef prices have been responsible. So maybe not exactly what we'd expect on the retail side. I wonder if we're beginning to see, as more supplies of beef get in the marketplace, that wholesalers, packers, even retailers are finding margins that can grow a little bit, whereas from a producer perspective, we're losing a little bit of that pie in front of us. We'll have to wait and see and get a little more data before we say too much about that. But higher retail beef prices, I sometimes go, still a good thing. If we're pushing higher retail beef prices in some cases to consumers and are doing that with additional supplies, we have to be fairly happy. On the pork side, we've been fairly flat, $3.76 on the pork retail price for March of 2016, up just a couple of cents from relative to February, and still fairly strong when you think about the amount of pork supplies coming to the market.
What about the consumer side of things? We talk about retail prices of beef, retail prices of pork. How does that affect how much of those products are being consumed?
Yeah, so we did get a WASDE report this week. I think that's one of the things that I think helps us look at the consumer side of this equation a lot. If you look back, so I look back all the way to 2007, almost 222 pounds of red meat and poultry consumed by U.S. consumers, according to USDA. You fast forward to 2014, and we fell to 202 pounds. So almost a 20-pound decline in 7 years. And I go, a combination of things are responsible. Very high feed costs, strong exports, and perhaps even economic slowdown in this country. I think all were responsible for that 222-pound 07 to a decline of 202 pounds. But now we have to look at where we're at today. For 2015, 211 pounds of those products were consumed, and now we're pushing even more in 2016. USDA, with their WASDE reports every month, gives us a little bit of help about what's been happening. So their first estimate of 2016 per capita consumption of those products occurred in May of 2015 at almost 211.7 pounds of those products. So still growing relative to 2015. But now, as of April, the report we got this week, so almost a year later, they're at 215.3 pounds. So we're growing per capita meat supplies to consumers. For me, that's kind of the yellow flag, at least, of we keep growing these meat supplies. Before long, we're going to be back to where we were at the peak that we saw back in 2007, and what price clears those markets could be something we need to keep in the back of our mind in terms of lower livestock prices ahead.
Does that mean we really need to start focusing, or the livestock industry needs to continue to focus on growing domestic demand?
I think we cannot ignore domestic demand when we look ahead. I will say, when you look at that growing per capita meat supply number, I will say 80% of that increase that we saw from USDA from May of 2015's first estimate of 2016 till now is due to less export growth and, frankly, a little more import growth as well. So if we can move more product internationally, we certainly should. And I think, we've had this conversation several times about a stronger dollar has certainly slowed our ability to export more product, but we certainly don't want to end up with a situation where weak U.S. meat demand comes at a time when we're trying to grow the consumption of U.S. meat products. That's a sure way to make us not very happy about where livestock prices will be 18, 24 months down the road.
Anything we need to look at next week? We're starting to really get going in planting in parts of the Corn Belt. The weather's cleared. Do you think that maybe as we look ahead to crop reports, planting progress reports, maybe that'll have an influence on feed prices as well?
Absolutely. I think a lot of us are going to try to figure out whether we got 93.6 million acres of corn planted as intention suggested, so we'll have to keep our eye on that. I will say, you look at the drought monitor map of late, we still see a little bit of dryness occurring in Oklahoma. I think we see a pretty good chance for rain coming in the next week. But if we were to repeat 2012 in terms of dry weather in cow-calf country in 2016, that's certainly a game changer in terms of beef supplies as we look ahead. So a number of those things that I think we're going to have to watch. I will say, for me, my key in the very short run is what's happening to the U.S. economy that ensures that consumers continue to want to eat more meat. I think that's most important. And anything, again, we see happening on the export side, whether it's a little weaker U.S. dollar or finding some new markets for products, are all going to be something that we have to keep our eye on as we look ahead over the next several days.
Scott, good to see you. Anything else?
I think that's got most of the important issues for the week, Megan. Thanks again for having me on.
We'll talk to you next Friday.
Very good.
Thank you. I'm Meghan Grebner for Brownfield.